If you're getting this card and you're at this place, what a gift, because you're getting a very clear message and the light is pouring out of you and onto the path before you. Welcome, tarot readers, beginning and advanced. Let's talk about the Three of Swords. Its meaning, but also its life lesson. So even though I'm putting this in the beginner's library, it's really for those of you who've been reading the tarot for a long time. I love talking about this card. I absolutely love this card. People hate it when this card comes up in their reading, but I really like it because I think it's an amazing life lesson that adds to us. And each of us is a different type of learner. I'm going to be 50 here really soon. And this is a lesson. The Three of Swords lesson is something that I feel is so profound and valuable in our life and comes up over and over and over again. So if you are familiar with the Three of Swords and you have a story that you think signifies this card and you're willing to share it, you could use like other terms. You could talk about someone else. Don't name any names, but why don't you leave it down below, like what the Three of Swords really means to you. Hey, if you're new to the tarot, I want to encourage you to stick around because I think you'll really learn a lot from this. Before we jump into all these threes that I have out here that I pulled out of multiple decks, I just want to let you know that I have some gifts for you down in the description box. They are free PDF printables for your tarot grimoire. There's spreads, there's cheat sheets, there's all sorts of cool stuff there, so check that out. Also, every deck that I show you, I'm going to have a name and a link for, so you can purchase it if you're interested down below in the description box. Let's start out with that basic card, that Rider-Waite-Smith card that you see there. Wow. Even though there's not a lot going on in this card, man, you can definitely tell it is not a good time. So for those of you who are new to reading tarot, you'll notice that the background is gray. Pay attention to the backgrounds in your card. What time of day is it? It can kind of tell you what's going on. This is a gray and rainy day. You can see the swords piercing the heart, 3 of them. And whenever this comes up in a spread, you know that there's heartache. Something has really struck you. And honestly, it doesn't mean that it's coming to an end, but it means that it's piercing you to your very core. If you haven't had your heart broken yet in your life, then you're really missing out on a richness of feelings. So I think that heartbreak, heartache is a real gift to us that builds empathy and helps us to really understand the depth of emotion that's available to us. There's a little bit of a seriousness to this card when it comes up because, as you can see here in the Everyday Witch Tarot, that, you know, when this comes up, when this is your marker, like that's a really severe message. Is that like a box of chocolates sent by a lover that now has 3 swords in it? Like that is not a good sign or symbol. Remembering that this is swords and swords is air or the mental realm, there's definitely a lot of mental anguish, and you can see that here in Chris Ann's 3 of Swords right here. Man, that looks really painful, doesn't it? That's not looking fun. But there's just that depth, that wrench, that like it's undeniable. And that's what I love about the 3 of Swords when it shows up in my reading. It's like, this is undeniable what's going on here. I have to face this. There's no way around it. Whatever is going on, it is piercing me to the core, and it's time to look at it, and it's time to recognize what part of myself maybe I have been hiding from or not looking at within myself. As you can see here in the Solar Lunaris tarot, she's blindfolded, she's got the swords behind her, she looks cold, she's shivering, you can see that tear down her face. And honestly, you know, you look at that as where she's being pierced, there are different rays of light that are coming out of her. And so I think that's a really important thing to look at in the lesson of the 3 of Swords, is that when we are in this place in our life, when this card shows up in the tarot, we are at a place where we have to remove something in order to free ourselves. And here in the Tarot of the Abyss, this is just one of the best versions of this card ever. I absolutely love it. You see here that it's like a piece of her. This bird has been removed and it's flying away. You know, it's like a piece of her heart is flying away and going away forever. So there's a sense of disappointment when this happens, you know, and I think that it's because the story that we've created for ourselves that we were believing in is shattering. It's just not holding up to reality anymore. We're slamming into the fact that it's just not happening. And in some ways, like, you could have put your hopes into whatever this is, and now it's being dashed on the rocks. I think again, in the Abyss Tarot, Anna Turan puts in a second card in here, and you can see where it's piercing, the swords are piercing the book. It's like the story of his life is being pierced and kind of shredding, and it's turning into like little birds here that are flying away. So this bits of his story, it's being shredded and it's moving on. Again, if you're new to tarot, then just remember that the minor arcana, those are the suits, right? The minor arcana are about lessons or experiences that the Fool is having. It's kind of like how we flesh out our story. And so you have that experience of that element 1 through 10. So realize that we're only on number 3 here. So if this feels like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. No, it's not. You've still got to go all the way into 10, where all those swords are stabbing you in the back, right? And I say that, with all love, because I've been in places where getting these cards just feels absolutely terrible. But it's not the end. When we get the 3, we realize we're just at that third step in learning about the element of air, the element of ourselves through the mind, and what the mind can create for us. And the mind definitely can create some illusion for us. And there's just times when we build something up in our lives and it's just not congruent with where our higher self is taking us. And so the tarot shows us that at times our higher self will come in and say, no, you need to face this. You need to look at this. You can no longer hide from it. And you can see here in the Foxora Tarot how it's actually being taken from her. She's been stabbed by this shadowy figure. And it's almost like there's these other shadowy figures in the distance that are offering this up. You can see her on the ground bleeding. I mean, this is really a visceral representation of this card. And depending on what question you're asking, where you are in your life, what this actually is representing, it could be really intense. It could be something that feels like it's being ripped away from you. And I just want to say this, if you're at this place where you're in a 3 of Swords moment, I've had so many of these in my life where I thought, oh my gosh, how will I make it through this? Or how will I get past? I mean, if it's a love, I've had my heart so incredibly broken and just crushed and thought, will I ever love again? Will I ever be able to move on from this? And yes, I know it doesn't feel like that now, but yes. And so that brings me to this last representation of this card. Here in Chris Ann's other deck, the Muse deck here, you see that she is sitting here and she is being pierced by the light. I love this. The light is coming in. She's been in a place behind this door and she's sitting in the shadow of it. And she's just hunched in that sort of fetal position. There are eyes up above. I don't know if you can see them well enough here. Try to close up. But, there's these eyes that are looking and crying from above. And I think that's something really important to remember. I'm going to get a little bit spiritual on you here, that your higher self is really trying to bring you into your best expression of who you are and release you into a better day. And it's God, the universe, creation, higher self, doesn't want to see you hurt, wants to see you in the best place. And it's hard to see you. It's hard to see you holding on to something that's just not right for you. It's just not right. So, I would say one of the big things when this card comes up is to make sure that you're being honest with yourself about the situation, to realize that this is a gift from the universe that you're being given that takes you into a place where you can now move forward, move on, be liberated into a higher expression of yourself, but you have to go through it. So I would say if you got this card and you're thinking, why? I don't think of anything in my life. There may be something that you skipped. You may not have grieved something in the past. You may have spiritually bypassed it. And you need to ask yourself, is there something related to this, like a disappointment or a level of finality where a door was closed to me that I feel, I feel like I need to look at. So just kind of poke around there. And for those of you that are there, the gift of the Three of Swords, it's really a gift. The gift of the Three of Swords is that it's obvious and it's poignant and it breaks your heart open to release fresh light, to illuminate the path ahead. Not what's behind, but the path ahead of you. And sometimes our heart gets so closed off into something and we're just not moving forward that the light comes in and really opens us up. Our higher self, God, whatever you want to call it, opens us up to a new way of thinking about ourselves and about our life, right? And that is the gift of the Three of Swords. Okay, I've blathered on a lot about this. I hope that you've learned something about this card. Again, I really feel like it's an incredible gift, and I hope that some of you are sharing your stories down below of your Three of Swords moments. Let me know if you want me to do more of these videos. I'm probably gonna do it anyway, but yeah, let me know if you like this style of video and if you want me to do some other cards and what they might be. You can leave that down below if you have a card that you're like, I just don't get this card, or it's one that I don't know, or one that you love. Tell me the cards that you love too. If you're a beginner, you may want to check out the Beginner's Library. That's a growing compendium of stuff for beginners. And if not, you may want to check out this video or my other channel where I read tarot.